Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Gear Toward Gear. I'm so glad you're here, and today we're going to be talking about my wife's EDC. So the table is empty as of right now. I'm going to get tripoded up and we'll get right into it. I'll try to keep this video as brief as possible, maybe 10 minutes or so. So the idea for this video came from a subscriber, Frederick. Shout out to Frederick for the idea. And the concept is kind of gear for your wife, or EDC for your wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other. My wife in particular is not into gear, knives, any of that stuff. She could take it or leave it, but she does graciously indulge my passions and allows me to spend time and money on them. But having said that, there are a number of items that I've given to my wife, EDC type items that I find useful and things that I just felt like she needed to have, specifically in her vehicle. She doesn't carry any of this stuff on her person. So I'm going to quickly go through the items that I've kind of curated as my wife's EDC, again, for her vehicle. So I'll start with the biggest item so I can get out of the way, because otherwise nothing will fit in frame, and that is a winter warm-up kit. I've showed this in one of my videos on my roadside emergency kit, and this is pretty straightforward. It's a self-contained kit in a plastic bag that contains a number of items to keep you warm in the event of an emergency, kind of roadside disaster type thing. And it contains a pair of gloves, a pair of wool socks, a knit hat, an emergency Mylar blanket, and some hot hands to keep your hands warm. And so these are pretty cool little kits. You can get these in different variations of these online, and they're pretty handy. So I've got two in my roadside emergency kit, and I gave her one for her vehicle as well. We'll get that out of the way. Next up would be a knife. Again, I just wanted her to have some cutting implement that she could have in her vehicle for just basic EDC tasks during the day when she's out and about. And this particular one that I chose is a Spyderco Spy DK. I don't think they make these anymore. It's a slip joint knife. It's non-locking. And I chose this one for a very specific reason. Again, my wife not being a knife person, she does not, she's not really comfortable closing knives that have locking mechanisms. So, she could grab any of my knives and open it and use it just fine. But when it comes to closing the knife, she gets a little uncomfortable, and so she typically would hand it back to me to close it for her. And so for that reason, I chose a slip joint. Again, this is a Spyderco Spy DK, but really any knife will do. I just wanted to make sure she had a way to cut things. So I gave her a pocket knife. Next up is a well-known vehicle kind of EDC type tool, and that is the Rescue Me tool. I've given so many of these things away to my brother and his wife, my parents, my wife. I have one in my vehicle as well. And this is an extrication tool. So if you get in an accident, this would be on your keychain. You would just grab the tool itself and pull, and you're going to be left with the tool itself, which contains a seatbelt cutter or strap cutter and a spring-loaded glass breaker as well. One tip with items like this, any tool that's going to be used to get you out of your seatbelt or out of your vehicle needs to be in a fixed location. For example, on your keychain or in an enclosed compartment within your vehicle. If it's just loose in a cup holder and you get in a wreck, you roll over, you end up in a ditch, this thing's going to be God knows where. It could be in the back seat. So you want to make sure it's fixed to a specific location so that if something does happen, you know exactly where it is. So that's the Rescue Me tool, and those go for about 10 bucks, I think, on Amazon. Next up, a flashlight. Again, my wife not being into this kind of thing, I just went straight forward with a kind of an old classic MicroStream from Streamlight. It's a single AAA, nothing fancy, but I just wanted her to have a light that she could use if she needs it, whether it be on the roadside or finding, the keyhole late at night in the door, or just searching through her vehicle trying to find something. So a basic flashlight. I'm gonna get these in the frame just a little better for you guys. Next up, and this is a recent upgrade, she had a different one that I gave her, but I upgraded this around Christmas time. This is a power brick for charging an electronic device. This one happens to be made by Anker, which in my opinion is the best manufacturer for power bricks such as this. This particular one is a 10,000 milliamp hour, so it'll charge her phone something like 4 or 5 times before it has to be recharged. And it's straightforward. It's just one input for the USB, micro USB to charge the brick itself, and then a standard USB to power or attach whatever device you're trying to charge. So a power brick. Next up, we're getting into some medical gear. So this is just a boo-boo kit, and this is just a pouch that she had. I think she got it from work, and she actually asked me to make her a little first aid boo-boo kit. And so it's going to contain things like Band-Aids, alcohol prep pads, a bunch of over-the-counter medications, ibuprofen, Benadryl, Imodium, a standard boo-boo kit, nothing fancy whatsoever, but stuff that she does actually use. I've had to refill and restock this a number of times since I've given it to her. And rounding out the medical gear is going to be a trauma pack from Adventure Medical Kits. And these are great, especially for people who aren't into gear or don't have any formal medical training. It's a self-contained kit in a sealed and resealable package that contains, as you can see from the packaging, some quick clot and several other items that could come in handy for stopping bleeding in a moderate to severe case. And what's nice about these kits is that on the back it contains instructions on how to treat severe bleeding with the contents of the kit, and it also gives you a supply list of what's actually in the kit itself. So you can see it's got quick clot, a trauma pad, several different sizes of gauze, some duct tape, triangular bandage, a biohazard bag, and it even says that you can use the resealable bag, the actual packaging, in conjunction with the duct tape that's included as a makeshift chest seal if you had to. So that rounds out the medical equipment. And the last item is a radio. And this is a Baofeng UV5R. So there's your model number right there. And it looks like, I think these are hair ties. She has some hair ties wrapped around it, so in case she needs to tie up her hair. But with that said, this is a pretty straightforward radio. These are really popular, this particular model. They're not too expensive. They're Chinese made, but they're actually quite good quality, and they function really well. And the reason for this being included is I want her to have a way to do a couple things. One would be communicating with me if we were, you know, on a road trip, kind of caravan style. If there's multiple vehicles, we could communicate via radio if something happened to cell reception. In addition, it has weather radios built in for the area that we live. It also has an integrated light. And so just a quick demonstration, I'm not going to go too in depth here, but when you turn it on, you're going to hear the local weather radio for our location.
Mostly clear. Cold with lows in the mid-30s. Thursday.
And you can cycle through from the weather radio to the communication bands that we've selected for our family. It also has a built-in, as you can hear, it's kind of annoying. And I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit so you can hear how loud it gets, but it has a built-in kind of SOS feature. So that could come in handy. And it also just has basic FM radio. So I guess if, you know, you want to listen to the radio, you could. But it's pretty straightforward. Baofeng UV5R radio. And you can get these all day long on Amazon for like 25, maybe 30 bucks. And they come in single packs, 2 packs, 4 packs, all different types of battery options. This one is a rechargeable battery. You can get ones that will use like a spare battery pack that uses AAA batteries. So a good overall radio. My main focus for this was for the weather radio specifically. And to go along with that, I included 2 things. One is a cheat sheet that I made for her that is going to cover all of the basic operations of this radio in terms of how to get from weather to communication channels, how activate the flashlight, things of that nature. And it also includes the frequencies that we happen to use for communication. So she knows which channel to be on. And those are all preset. So it's pretty straightforward for her if she needed to use that. And then lastly, included with that is our GMRS license. This is from the FCC. It's a basic general mobile radio license that's given by the FCC that allows you to legally operate general purpose radios such as this. And they're good forever. They don't expire. And I think it costs something like $30 or $40 for one of these licenses. I just covered up the address here. So she's got the license and the cheat sheet to go along with the radio. And then if I can get it back in frame a little bit, that's the winter warm-up kit. So that is my wife's EDC, or the items that I've given to my wife that I feel are necessary for her to have in her vehicle, for me to feel that she's prepared. A couple things that are not pictured here are going to be a roadside emergency kit, which actually came included with her vehicle. It's a pretty new vehicle. So it's got a basic toolkit, jumper cables, tire jack, things like that. And then she also does, and I didn't have time to grab them off of her keys, but she does carry pepper spray, a pretty high quality, pretty powerful pepper spray as a self-defense option. She does not carry a firearm, although she's a great shot and she comes shooting pretty regularly. She has chosen for herself to not carry a firearm. I've encouraged it, but at this point she's decided it's just not for her, at least at this time, to carry a firearm, whether it be concealed or just in her vehicle. And in Texas, where I live, we're fortunate that you don't have to have any license whatsoever to carry a firearm in your vehicle. If you leave your vehicle with your firearm, you do have to be licensed to carry it concealed, or you can open carry it without a license. So she could, if she wanted to, just throw any pistol that we have in her vehicle if she so chooses. If she so chooses to, she just simply is not comfortable with that at this time, and I'm totally cool with that. I don't think you should ever pressure somebody into carrying a firearm because, of course, it is a lethal weapon, and if they're not comfortable with it, then I think you should just respect that. So with that said, that is my wife's EDC that I have provided to her and kind of curated for her over the last few years. Just some basic stuff. And I'd be interested to hear from you guys if you do this. You know, if you're married, if you're a dude out there and you're married, do you give EDC gear and stuff like this to your significant other if they don't really care about it, if they're not interested? And if so, what types of things do you provide to them? Because I'd just really be interested to hear if I'm the only one that does this, or if there's other people out there that are like-minded that want to ensure that their loved ones are prepared, even if they may not be into all the same things that we're into. So this is what I've put together for my wife. I'd love to hear in the comments what you've put together for your significant other. With that said, we'll end the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.